Right then. My name is Lewis. Hello everyone. I've chosen to do my presentation today on a collection of artworks by Stanley Donwood for the album In Rainbows by Radiohead. I've drawn some parallels between the artworks and one of the songs from the album called Nude, the lyrics of which are by Tom York. So, don't get any big ideas. They're not going to happen. We start with a house. Houses built of brick, mortar, concrete, and glass, with walls that tower over us and that cradle us. Places of comfort and places of calm. No doubt the kind of places we'd all want to go home to when we're finished here today. But you see, this is not that kind of house. Here you see no brick, mortar, concrete, or glass. Here you see a house drawn in two-point perspective, with the guiding lines left unerased, as if it's some sort of projection. Precisely measured walls left transparent, implying that this house might be some sort of creation of the mind. And that's because this is the house that we build around our heads, that we isolate ourselves in, and that we hide from others inside. It's a house with shutters that block the windows to our soul from any passers-by. And sometimes we go around and we think, I might change this house I've got, this exterior. And so we press the refresh button and we become a blank canvas, try and repaint ourselves. And so we remold ourselves, finding a new way of talking, a new way of speaking, walking, acting, just to match maybe a new class or a new friend group. You could say maybe new neighbors. And as human beings, we are incredible at this. We are incredible at building this thing to stand behind and live behind. But as people, we can sense the facade that we've generated. As people, we know that there's a little part of us that we can never quite explain or put into words. You could call this little part of us inside us maybe a light in our dark. You could call it an up to our down. You could even go as far to say it's a negative space. But one day, you might think, this is the day I am finally going to tell someone about this part of me. I'm going to tell my best friend. And so all morning on the way to school or on the way to work, you think, how am I going to put these sentences together? How am I going to make it make sense? And on the train, on the bus, in the car, you start putting the words together, and now the moment is coming closer and closer, and you're about to tell your friend, and the words are on the tip of your tongue, and it's about to come out, it's right there, but it just never quite makes the same sense out loud. We don't give up though. We keep tearing down these walls that we've built between ourselves, keep tearing down these shutters. We expose ourselves to these dynamic and fluid charcoal markings, these storms and whirlwinds of intimacy and emotion. And through opening ourselves up to one another like this, our relationships become closer and closer, and once again it feels better and better, and just when we think we're right where we want to be, we've got everything we need, once again, we overstep our mark. We push ourselves a little too far and end up where we started, hiding behind these shutters and these walls. And we're not going to come out for at least a little while. This repeating cycle is shown brilliantly in this piece by Donwood. It depicts a person fleeing a house on the edge of a woodland or a forest, shown through the perspective of a thermal imaging camera. However, what is most important here is the composition. The house is placed centrally. It's the focal point of the piece, with the arrow commanding your eyes towards it, as if to say, you might try to flee out into the cold exposure that is opening yourself up to someone else. But those looming thoughts in the back of your head, those burning emotions, will bring you straight back here to me. And, well, we all fall back. We force ourselves into this community of these houses that we hide in, the scale of which is shown, by the way, in this not quite tessellation, it goes off into the distance. Because we find safety in numbers. Through fear of being seen, we force ourselves into uneasy relationships, into a herd, into an ever-repeating pattern and an ongoing cycle. And we do this because we quickly learn, as we grow older, to find our place, to find a house on a street next to everyone else. We learn to turn our backs on one another, so close yet so blind, pretending that nothing is wrong, until finally it erupts, this self-inflicted oppression that towers over us all like a roaring mushroom cloud, this power that shines down on us all, that commands us all, and that separates us. However, that is not what I would like to talk about today. And so now that the lengthy introduction is done, my presentation can start. So, here we go. This is the piece that I would like to talk about. The conclusion to all the works that have preceded it, and a perfect amalgamation of all the techniques and motifs previously used throughout the collection. It carries a beautifully juxtaposing message, because there is always a different viewpoint, a new perspective to be seen. And that's what I think is so interesting here, and it's why I love this work. Because this idea of different viewpoints, not just in an argument with your little brother or in politics, but in art specifically, is really brilliant. Because it's important to remember that for this presentation, all these pieces were made for an album of 10 songs, but I'm only applying it here to one. Because although an artist has the power to give their work as many different meanings as they want, as a viewer, you're allowed to see whatever you want, to pick out the good bits or the parts you connect with. And I think from doing that, art on a personal level just becomes so much more valuable to a viewer. And I found something I connect with here, and I think you might too. It says that even though we cocoon ourselves inside our own heads, that we pretend to be people we're not, hiding little parts of us away. That we repeatedly make mistakes, push our boundaries too far, and end up back where we started. Hiding in a crowd out of fear of simply being seen, generating this looming emotion that we are all the creator and the victim of. The piece says that there is some good here, that there is a full spectrum of color and of emotions and of life waiting to be seen, felt, and lived. That somehow we can neutralize this great power into a negligible point, simply just by doing a few little things. By changing the way we go about talking to each other, by changing the way that we go about listening to each other, and by changing the way that we go about thinking. By opening ourselves up to someone else and showing our insecurities to them. Being there to support them and to hold their hand, knowing that when we need it, they will be there to hold ours. The piece says, right there with those two people stood together, that simply by having a mate or a best friend or any close relationship at all, that things can get a little easier, and then they'll start to feel a whole lot brighter. Thank you.